Hi, this is Ty Anderson, and today I'm going to show you how to schedule automated report deliveries using the subscription services of SQL Server Reporting Services 2008. In a previous video, I created a report named Simple Product Listing Report, and we're going to use this as the basis of configuring both a file share delivery and an email delivery subscription. The first thing we're going to need is the data source for the report. That we've created a shared data source called AWLite, and it needs to store the credentials inside the database server. Currently it's using Windows Integrated Security, but what we need to do is actually store a set of credentials that will be used anytime this shared data source runs. And for this demonstration purposes, I'm just going to use my admin account. You might want to create a separate account for this purposes. It's not a domain admin, but it works for the demo. A key thing here is, depending on your model, if you're using Windows Integrated Security or you're using a mixed mode, in my case I'm using Windows Integrated Security, so I need to make sure that these credentials are passed as Windows credentials. If they're SQL credentials, you don't need to check this. Now I need to go back to my report. I'll just go to Show Details and edit the report. We don't need to worry about changing the data source here. We could change the data source and use a custom data source and configure it and store the credentials and everything that we just did in the shared data source. We could do it here, but there's no need. What we need now actually is to come over to the New Subscriptions button and choose a delivery method. Right now we can only do a Windows file share delivery method. To enable email delivery, we need to actually open up the SQL Server 2008 configuration tool for reporting services and connect to our database, and then go to the email settings and input the username and the server name. And that's all we need. If I do a refresh on the subscription page, it'll show the email delivery method. So now we have our choice between email and Windows file share. We're going to go ahead and I'll show you how to set up an email first. In this case, you have your to field, the CC and the BCC, and we'll just set this to domain user tyrantdev.com. It's a fake account. We also have the ability here to set a subject, in this case use some wildcards for execution time and report name. We'll leave those as the default. We can choose from among various report types from XML, common delimited files, PDF, the HTML web archive, Excel TIFF, and Word. I'm going to go with PDF. We can choose to include the report and include a link. We're just going to include the report for this, and we'll say today's listing of products. Lastly, we can select a schedule and choose when to do it. Let's just say Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every day at 8 a.m. We can also set a schedule if we want. In this case we're not. We'll say OK, and OK again, and it's set. Now to do a file share, it's very similar. We set a file name. We can choose to add the file extension. Again, we have the same choices, with one additional one being the RPL renderer, which is the actual report file just going to choose PDF. Here we also need to configure a user and save the credentials for the file share. And in this case, our file share is this folder right here, but we have to use a UNC path. And that'll do. We have a few other options. We can choose to override an existing file with the newer version. We can choose to not override it if a previous version exists, or we can increment file names as newer versions are added, which we'll do here. Once again, we can choose to select days. In this case, I'll just say every Monday only, and say OK. I'll have to re-enter my password and choose OK, and we're done. And at the scheduled times, SQL Server Report Services will either email or create an email to this user account, and it'll store it. It's actually going to store it in the SMTP server I have configured on this site or on this server, and just put it in its drop folder. For this to really work the way it should in the end is to maybe set that SMTP server to be a relay server to your actual domain as a trusted relay server, and that would deliver the emails as you would expect. And then the second subscription will drop a PDF report for sample product listing in this UNC path. And that's all there is to it. Creating or automating reports is a pretty easy process in SQL Server or SQL Server Reporting Services 2008. That's all I'll have this time, and I'll see you in the next video.